biggest Boston sports story of the year. And I think it's fun to bring up at this time because maybe there's a bigger one on the way. Maybe there's a big Red Sox story that is developing that by the end of 2025 you look back on and say, well, that was a pretty damn big story. They had a great deadline. They acquired Joe Ryan, and they went to the World Series. That could be a story. That could be a real story. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. I'll give you that for the time being. But to this point, what do you think the biggest story in Boston sports has been to this point? There's obviously some big contenders in there. Red Sox related, it's the Devers deal. Massive, massive news story. There's also the hiring of Mike Vrabel as Patriots head coach and the firing of Gerard Mayo. I'm going to include that all in 2025. You know, it happened. The season ended after the new year. Yes, that was 2025, calendar year. Yeah, they fired Gerard Mayo. They hired Mike Vrabel. And they had a positive offseason. There's the injury to Jayson Tatum and how that has impacted the Celtics in a variety of ways. And there's also Bill Belichick as a consideration and the offseason he's had and the drama and TMZ-esque news with his girlfriend and also now shooting back at Robert Kraft in recent days. I'm going to eliminate that one right off the bat. I don't think it's Belichick.
Oh,
I don't think he's a contender here.
All right.
I don't. It was it was like a fun story. We talked about it way too much. I admit that. We did. We've talked about it way too much. It was fun. It was stupid, silly, but it's not a real sports story. No, that's gossip column.
That was definitely something that transcended the sports circles.
Yes.
Everyone was talking about it.
I would agree with that.
I'll say this. So I agree with you. I don't think it's the biggest sports story of the year. But if you went back 3 years from now and said, I'm going to lay out the four things, you would say that is the craziest story out of all four. That Bill Belichick is currently the head coach at North Carolina and dating a 23-year-old. You would think that that's the most outlandish story out of all of these, out of all of the options we're going to go through.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, how could I? How could I possibly disagree with what you just said? How could anybody disagree with that? It's complete insanity, right?
Yes.
If you went back in time and you said, this is the way this is going to play out, the way he gets fired, the way all of it. I mean, I would even factor in like the other stuff we're mentioning, which is the hiring, firing of Mayo, all of that. Not talking to Mayo. You're right. Okay, it's outlandish. The whole thing is nuts.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's the biggest sports story. At least not for Boston. I don't. I think that it's really down to Devers or Tatum as the two biggest ones. And I know that the Vrabel hiring is a huge story, probably more so because the team did it after firing a coach after one season, a dreadful season. So that's a huge one. But I feel like Tatum is the winner here. I feel like the Tatum injury has had the most impact on an actual season, one that they were playing at the time, and it's going to have an impact, and as I think already started to have an impact on how the team operates. At a critical pivot point, juncture, whatever you want to call it, crossroads, where they're switching owners in the middle of this. And they had spent a lot of money already, and they were in the second apron, and I feel like the Tatum injury is a big part of all of this. It couldn't have happened at a worse time for this team. Horrible. It's going to have an impact now. It could have an impact beyond him coming back. And once he's back, he may not be the same player. And I feel like we want to believe that he's going to come back because of the amazing treatment that he got and being able to get the surgery 12 hours later or whatever it was. I mean, we have this belief that it's going to be fine. I think if you're being realistic, you don't know it's going to be fine. This injury may have changed and altered the course of a franchise, not just for a year or two. It might have changed the course of that franchise for many years to come. And I feel like the Devers trade could potentially do that too, but not the way that this Tatum one does. The individual player in the NBA is just too damn important, and he's the best one of the best in the league.
Yeah, so I think with the Tatum one, and I I think I agree with you. I think it's between Tatum and Vrabel. And if you wrap up the Mayo 1 year, just absolute disaster of a season that it was, and couple that with then bringing in Mike Vrabel, I do think that's a huge story when it comes to sort of the Boston sports landscape. But to your point, not only was it the Tatum injury, and now looking forward, it feels like you've lost a year in terms of what you thought was going to be a solid, at least 5-year run with these two where you're going to be competing for championships. You don't know if he's ever going to be the same player. And, oh, by the way, it also came at the end of a game that you were losing to the New York Knicks, where a team that we spent all season waiting to see whether or not they were going to win back-to-back championships and thought that they had a legit, real chance at doing that, was about to get bounced by the Knicks, and then you lost your best player on top of that for the following season. That's brutal. Brutal. And like you said, too, I think it also can potentially here change the course of this franchise for years to come. So I do think it's Tatum 1. I would go Vrabel 2. The Devers thing is a big deal. It was just simmering for so long. And I also, if you told me that John Henry was going to try to get out of a big contract, quite honestly, I wouldn't be stunned by that. So, that's why I put that 3rd, and I'll go Belichick 4.
Belichick 4 for you. Same for me. Belichick is 4. I'm going to go Tatum number 1. I think Devers was just such a shock, and it was such a big deal. And I'm telling you, that
what happened?
I know everyone wants to throw a month's worth of stats at us now about how Devers sucks now.
Yes.
I've already received those stupid emails. Oh, look at Devers. Look at the month he's had. Yeah, okay. I'll give you 8 years of a sample size instead of your 1 month. Okay? So I feel like that one could come back to bite them once Rafi Devers comes back to what he is.
What about this, though? What if the Red Sox had traded Devers a month before they actually did? Isn't that all of a sudden a much more sort of believable? Because I'm with you. The shock factor of that trade was ridiculous because they were playing their best baseball of the season. And it was, 8? They just won 6 in a row. But if you told me 4 weeks before when that thing really started to go south, I wouldn't have been as stunned.
What if they traded him the day after he came out and said all the first base stuff?
Or after the Kansas City meeting or something like that, right?
Would have been huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that might be true. I get what you're saying. Timing is a big, important part of it. I just think moving forward, it's going to have a big impact. And you know what? I feel like Vrabel's right there, too, because hiring a new head coach in the NFL has massive impact on how the hell your team operates.
Yes.
So that is going to have an impact for years to come. And also, the Patriots and Mike Vrabel are now together, and they can't break up for a long time. The Patriots fired a coach after 1 year. They cannot, if it goes south and it doesn't go well, they're going to go through growing pains together.
Yeah. Yep.
There's no moving off of Mike Vrabel now. They are locked in.
They better not win 4 games, yeah.
Locked in. He wins 4 games, he's not getting fired.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
He wins 4 games a second time, I still think it's a debate, which is wild. But I think that's what happens when you make such a poor decision the way the team did, the way Robert Kraft decided he was going to hire Gerard Mayo, who was completely unprepared to be an NFL head coach and was nowhere near ready to take on a job like that. And when you make a bad mistake like that, you just can't keep ripping off Band-Aids and firing coaches. You can't do it. You've got to create some stability. So that's going to have an impact, good or bad. It could be great, too. Mike Vrabel could win the 12 games or 14 games or whatever it is you've got him at this year, McKone. They're going to rival the 07 team.
Yes, hosting the AFC Championship game at Gillette. Yep.
Well, they did send out the parking passes yesterday.
Saw that.
So for those who don't know, Darren Ravel put up a tweet of a picture of a Patriots fan, season ticket holder, who gets parking passes. So must have good seats. And their parking passes were printed for all of the playoff games, divisional round, wild card round, and the AFC title game. So they got the parking passes, and apparently that's some sort of big deal. Well, that's a thing that happens. That's how you do it. That's why baseball fans, when they were still using paper tickets, were getting World Series tickets for bad teams and divisional round tickets for bad teams. It's what they do.
Yeah.
They send them out. I do understand when you got to be in playoff contention before they used to send them out, but still.
Right. No, but it makes sense.
What
Like,
are
you're
you
not
gonna
going to
do?
go fire drill
mailing
2
you-
days before. Yeah.
Right. We're mailing you a stack of passes. Do we want to do this mailing again, like for 15,000 people again later on? No. We're here. We're going to throw in the 3 passes for the playoffs if everything breaks our way. Here you go. But anyway, it's funny. It's just a funny little tweet. 617-779-0985. It's a Finish Strong Friday. We're going to get to your calls. Coming up next on the Red Sox as they approach the deadline, the biggest Boston sports story of the year. We're about the midway point of the year, a little bit beyond it, but it's a good time to consider it because maybe that biggest story changes. Maybe the biggest story is not something off the field or something bad. Maybe it's actual on-field success by the Boston Red Sox. Can you imagine that?